Too much Rakeem Cato, too much Devon Johnson, too much Tommy Shuler, and really, altogether, just too many talented athletes to deal with for Northern Illinois as Marshall rolls over NIU 52-23 at the Boca Raton Bowl. MarkRogersTV just a few minutes after the game ended, and it was pretty easy to figure out very early in the football game that Marshall was the faster, more athletic team, and really at the skill positions, even though this was tabbed as a game between brute force for Northern Illinois, big, tough, physical guys, versus the fast, sleek athletes of Marshall, that at the skill position players, actually it was the Marshall players that were the big, physically imposing players over the shorter, smaller, more diminutive Northern Illinois players. What I liked out of the Huskies early in this game was that Drew Hare came out and they designed some runs for him. So he took direct snaps for first downs. They had some draw plays for him. He also, when the pocket broke down, broke containment and ran the football as Northern Illinois scored the first touchdown of the game, and actually was in this one at 7-7, 14-7, actually at 17-7. They got the ball late in the first half, could have made a touchdown drive, but this would be the story of the night. Then Marshall took the ball inside the red zone 6 times offensively, scored 5 touchdowns. NIU, 5 red zone trips, 1 touchdown. So at the end of the first half, when they made the play on special teams, got it down to the red zone, they could only go for the field goal, make it 24-13 at that point. Marshall still had an 11-point lead. And then the athletes for Marshall really got going. Again, I thought it was a good ploy by the NIU coaching staff to go for the onside kick, try to go for that double possession, end of the first half, start of the second half. I think it was pretty obvious to Northern Illinois that they had to reduce the number of Marshall possessions with Rakeem Cato and try to maximize their possession. So they couldn't do it with the final possession and then getting the opening kickoff of the second half, so they did it themselves. They got the onside kick, got the football at their own 40, could not convert a third down and short, turned it over, and from there, Marshall wore them down. But it really wasn't until about 10 to 12 minutes left that Marshall took over the football game. They led it 31-20, scored 2 consecutive drives, and ran it away 45-20 at that point en route to a 52-23 win. Special note here to Rakeem Cato, not donning his familiar number 12, but wearing number 31. That's the number of fallen teammate Evan McElvey, who was lost for the season due to an ACL injury on October 4th. Now, every week since then, a defensive player has worn number 31 in honor of McElvey, but this time Rakeem Cato, as the leader of the team, took on that honor of wearing number 31. So it was the quarterback wearing number 31, but we still saw Rakeem Cato doing his best for the Thundering Herd as they march on to the victory, and it was just that 1 point loss in triple overtime against Western Kentucky, 67-66, that removed Marshall from an undefeated season. Still, the Thundering Herd finishes at 13-1. Northern Illinois, not too bad, at 11-3 coming out of the MAC. What we'd like to do during some of these bowl recaps is not so much just recap the football game that you most likely watched, but look ahead to 2015. Run down some of the defensive and offensive playmakers and special dynamic players on each team and see if they're coming back or not. So for Marshall, right off the bat, you got Rakeem Cato, responsible for 40 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing this season, just 13 picks. Just fell short of 4,000 yards passing this season. We've seen him for a long time there in West Virginia. Not coming back. He's a senior. He's gone. Okay, his backup this season was sophomore Gunnar Holcomb, who just threw 21 passes. So they will get him ready for next season. Don't know the status of some of the other quarterbacks coming into the system there at Marshall. But again, Gunnar Holcomb, 21 passes attempted this past season, is the backup this year. Okay, we've got a number of big losses. The huge loss here in the receiving corps is, of course, Tommy Shuler, the all-time reception leader at Marshall, with 322 catches, caught 18 for $185 in this Boca Raton Bowl, 92 catches this season, about 1,150 yards, 9 touchdowns. Tommy Shuler is gone, but pretty much the rest of the offensive playmakers, they're coming back. Devon Johnson, we saw him just maul the NIU defense many times in the first half, specifically in carrying the ball 15 times for a $122. This kid had 0 rushing yards as a freshman in 2012, 13 rushing yards last season. And then you talk about exploding onto the season. 1,800 yards, 17 touchdowns for Devon Johnson. And yes, he will be back as a senior in 2014, along with Remy Watson, a junior this season. 566 on the ground and 6 touchdowns. At wide receiver, the freshman, we saw him, Tay-McManus, very impressive with a couple of big receptions in the second half as he finished with 26 receptions for 6 touchdowns this year as just a freshman. He only caught his first pass of the season in the 5th game, but was used down the stretch, and again, he'll be back as a sophomore in 2015. Stuart Butler at running back, the junior, ran for 233 yards against Western Kentucky in the 67-66 loss. Not used much in this game with 4 carries, but Stuart Butler coming back as a senior in 2015. And how about the freshman, Hyleik Foster, who was only used for 2 rushing plays in this one, but used much more down the stretch of this freshman season with 18 receptions, and so he'll be most likely a key contributor in 2015. Defensively, it doesn't look quite as good for Marshall coming back next season. You've got Neville Hewitt, who led them with 12 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. At linebacker, he's gone, along with James Rouse, 10.5 tackles for loss. Arnold Blackman, who racked up 13.5 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. He's gone as well. Okay, all the guys coming back, though, as redshirt juniors include linebacker DJ Hunter, 10 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. You got a couple of impressive safeties in the back of that defense. A.J. Leggett comes back for his junior season. He's a redshirt, 4 interceptions this season, along with Taj Letman, who picked off 4 passes this season, was actually 3rd on the Marshall defense in total tackles as a redshirt junior. He's coming back. The out-of-conference schedule, not exactly daunting for Marshall. And if they continue to rack up 1-loss seasons or 0-loss seasons, they may want to look at this non-conference slate, because this is not helping them make a claim for the college football playoff or the New Year's Day, New Year's Eve 6 bowl games. Purdue, not bad. Maybe they'll bounce back at some point in the Big Ten. For Marshall next season, after the Boilermakers opener, they've got Ohio, Norfolk State, and Kent State before they dive into Conference USA play. Okay, let's look at Northern Illinois offensively going into 2015. Drew Hare, just a sophomore at quarterback. 18 touchdowns, 2 picks, a little bit overmatched in this game. But again, very strong and solid at quarterback is Northern Illinois going into 2015 as Drew Hare prepares for his junior season. The losses on offense include Kamer Stingley, who ran for almost 1,000 yards, 971 and 14 touchdowns. He's gone, along with Deron Brown. We saw Hare miss him a number of times. Northern Illinois had a fighting chance for staying in the football game if they could have connected. A couple times Brown had a step or two on the defender going deep. Hare missed him just about every time. He racked up 68 receptions for 6 touchdowns. He'll be gone in 2015. But all these guys coming back. Joel Bujnan, 82 rushing yards tonight in the Boca Raton Bowl, 655 on the season. He's coming back for his junior season. And Argero Turner with 37 receptions and 2 touchdowns. He's back for a junior season. Defensively for Northern Illinois, a couple big losses. Declan Durante, 4 interceptions this season. He's a senior. He's gone. But these other guys, Jason Meehan, we got to mention him as well. He had 7 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss coming into this bowl game. He's gone at linebacker. But these guys all come back. You got Boomer Mays, 9 tackles for loss coming into the bowl game. He's a junior linebacker coming back for 2015, as well as Perez Ford, a junior defensive end, 9 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks this season. And then you've got the junior safety, Marlon Moore, who led the team in tackles. He's coming back for his senior season at safety for Northern Illinois. Marshall wins it 52-23 over Northern Illinois. We saw a pretty wide gap of athleticism between these two squads, but Northern Illinois, again, wins the MAC. They march on at 11-3, going to 2015 in pretty good shape on both sides of the football. Marshall, on the other hand, with some huge gaps to fill going into the next season. Love to hear what you have to say about Marshall football going 13-1 this season, then spring forward into 2015 for both these teams. Right